Craig Brain is not your brain or my brain. Love it or hate it or something in between. Welcome to the squishy, alien middle inside of this dude's skull. Take a peek. Take a peek.
Episode 38, it's Craig Brain, coming down to a close. And this week, I'll be talking about my trip to Napa Valley. I think a few weeks ago, I don't even know how many, I wrote something, talked about Jeanette going to, who knows, but if you listened, talked about Jeanette going to this place called Hoffman. I remember when she read something, or she watched or read it. I think she's done both because she's helped edit as well all the writings. Which somebody asked me the other day, they're like, oh wait, there's something that goes along with all this stuff. It's like, yeah, I think there's 100,000 words that I've written, which when this comes out as a book, I think I got to edit that down, but they're all out there on the internet. And I think she said to me, hey, it sounds like you did a lot of work, you found yourself, and then I was in trouble, and then I went to Hoffman, and now I changed and everything's better. I was like, no, that's not what I was trying to say. It's like you went to Hoffman first. I went and done some other work, but now it's kind of like, just wait. I'm going to go there eventually, and now I'll tell my story. And that's kind of what happened. I mean, Jeanette went to a place in April of this year, of 2019, the week that Nolan was working on 12 in the Neck. And it was a powerful week for our family. And the change was real, and the change was seen and heard, and I think witnessed by a lot of people close to us. The work that Jeanette did prior to Hoffman, it just blew my mind of just the change in her life and the change that she was ready for, and then what's happened since. I mean, I hope one day, she writes a book or writes something about all the things she's learned. But who knows? I did get her to write something, which I'll share about in a couple of weeks. But I asked her to write the final entry for this project. And then she actually said she would record. She read it to me. She wanted me to read it. She wanted to read it to me, like when Levi read me the foreword. So I think that will be the final episode. And I decided to go to Hoffman when somebody I love or somebody I know has results or has change or does something that makes an impact. I don't care what it is. Like, I'm interested in learning more about it. Because change is real. Truth is truth. Like, you see it. It's like Jeanette's a different human being. I've been married to somebody for 20 years, and the first 20, like, there's something in a week that happened in her life that comes back, and there's now a culmination, and it's not just a week out of thin air that showed up. There's a lot of work in getting us there. But after she came back, it was just like, oh, I don't need to go. I mean, you just actually told her, why don't you just show me and teach me some of the things? Because it's like, I'm a quick study. Give me the cliff notes. I can't do 7 days somewhere. Like 7 days somewhere plus 2 days with like not talking to anybody else on the tail end. That's 9 days. Like, dude, honestly, I've never done it in my life. Never gone 9 days where you can't contact me. Like, nobody that works for me is like never not heard from me for 9 days. Like, dude, I'll go on a cruise early on, like in marriage, and it was like, oh, we had Wi-Fi or we figured this out. And I don't take enough breaks, or used to not. Now I do. But still 9 days in the middle of like transition with Triple X Church. It was like 2 weeks from the announcement that I was making about Triple X Church, the launch of Christian Cannabis, Nolan's music stuff that we had. There's so many projects. Oh, yeah, you should go. Better yet, you should go on Father's Day, Craig. Oh, gosh. All right. So Jeanette never told me I should go. She just says, I don't know if I'm comfortable. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a teacher. And she never asked me to go. Had she asked me to go, I would have said yes. I probably would have fought it. And some of my other friends that have gone have been weird about it. So I'll just be honest. Like, the reason why I'm sharing this, like, this is a deeply personal experience. But I know there's a lot more people that want way more information up front that would never go to a place like this with just some of the language and some of the ways people talked about it. So I was like, screw it. I asked the people, can you talk about this experience? Can we? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we hate when like people just make it so weird that like this language that you're like, I don't know what we're talking about over here. And then I found out the one guy that wrote the book about the Hoffman process, or there's the Hoffman experience, just went. And so it's just like, dude, we had an experience. I had an experience. I'm going to talk about it. And my goal in talking about it is not to tell you, look how I've changed. It's like, dude, go out and do something that's going to help you get the change and get the results that you want to get. And guess what? If it's not a Bible study, it's all right. If it's a Bible study, it's all right. If it's something, and I've said stuff like that recently just because I get so much Christianese response. Well, the Lord will take care of all of that. I don't need another Bible verse tattooed on me or presented to me on a slide in a 3-point message that says, well, just forgive them. Well, how do you do that? Well, the Lord did that, and you do that. We're not these things are complex, and we're walking around with pain and trauma, and we are who we are, and we might need something a little bit stronger. Oh, stronger than the Lord's word. Like, yeah, it's all in there for the taking. But I'm saying there are some people that have maybe specialized in some of this other stuff that could take you a little further. And if they believe in the Lord, great. I've found that if they don't believe in the Lord, that might not even be a deal breaker as well, because truth is truth. So Hoffman doesn't claim to be a religious, Christian center, but they recognize there's a spiritual force in and all around us, and you're free to call that God, Jesus, or Oprah, or whoever you want, without judgment. And so when my friend went and said, oh, the Holy Spirit is definitely in this room, it's like, yeah, you feel it. Somebody else might not acknowledge that. They might not name it, or they might name that something else that you could be like, no, it's not. Hey, it's your experience. And so when I decided to go, I was going to go late in the summer, and then they had an opening, and Jeanette was like, hey, Craig, I think you'd really get benefits from going on Father's Day weekend. And so I went. And I guess my hope in this too is if you're struggling, or if you're in a situation where you just want to know more about yourself, don't wait till 43 or 53 or 63. Like, dive in now. And so I remember when Jeanette was told, like, she told a few friends, and one of her friends, thank God that she's not listening to anymore, is like, you can't bring your Bible? Like, what kind of place is this? And just all like scared for you. And it's like, no, they're trying to tell you, like, don't bring any outside stuff, but you can bring the Lord with you. Like, he's in you. Like, you can bring yourself with you. You can bring you're bringing all your past experiences, your knowledge, bring all that with you. But hey, you're basically going to walk through this experience for 7 days, and we're going to take you on a journey and just do what we say. Now, I'm a rule breaker. So when I went, I brought music. Their choice of music at Hoffman is probably the only area where I would say, hey, you know where you guys could really improve? Like updating your music selections that you play in some of your experiences. That's all. Knowing that, I'm like, I'm going to bring my headphones, and I'm going to bring a playlist and some things for my time by myself that I'm going to have that week. They said, do not bring any drugs unless they're prescriptions. I'm not going to agree with that either. And so I brought a few things for me that I knew spending time from 8 in the morning till 9, 10 o'clock at night, while I know over here my real world's calling and all this other stuff is happening, that I need to stay here fully present and be on somebody else's clock that maybe, hey, there might be some cannabis that might be able to help me. So I brought a couple mints, used those on a couple different occasions. My friend Matt, his friend went when my wife went, and there's one of the experiences that you do where they actually take you to a funeral, and it's powerful. I talk about it. And Matt's friends, Jeanette was freaking out because my wife's a rule follower, and he lights up a joint at the like as soon as the funeral ended. And my wife's like, I can't believe you're not supposed to like smoke. And she's like, Matt, your friend was smoking a J. And Matt was like, he's like freaking out. I was like, guys, what's the big deal? Like, it's probably like so powerful. I can't even imagine. Like, you just did 4 funerals, like how heavy that was. And like, I get it. So I smoked maybe like 5 joints maybe in my life, maybe more by the time you listen. I don't know. Like, it's not my way of, but I had this one from Candescent that I had, and I packed it in my bag, and I joked, and I was like, Matt, I'm gonna, well, I didn't joke ahead of time, but I was like, I'm gonna light this up after the funeral and just send it to you, just because he's a rule follower too. And I didn't. I waited till the final day, and I did have this moment where I actually wrote some of the stuff, what you're gonna read. But all that's to say is like, so for me, it's like, I'm going to go throw out everything I've tried or I know. And when I talked about the how we love stuff being about these negative patterns, the avoider, the pleaser, the controller, that's just one. What Hoffman does is they walk you through a pre-process of a bunch of information, paperwork, stuff you got to fill out. And it helps you identify all your negative patterns. I had 87 of them. Somebody was like, I have 300. So I was like, oh, well, like, I didn't judge. I was like, I wasn't lying. I wasn't probably being fully honest. I probably have well over 80. Then they have you concentrate on the top 20, 25, and you kind of camp out there. Then you identify where those came from. Oh, crap. My mom, my dad. Sorry, mom. Sorry, dad. Oh, cool. And some of those patterns are things that your parents did that you do. Oh, I'm just like them. Other patterns are things that you do that are in direct like rebellion against your parents and swinging the opposite. My dad always, yells at people. So I'm going to be like the nicest person ever and be the fakest person, just smile and like that's not being your authentic self. And so what they walk you through is this whole cycle of transformation, which starts with awareness. Hey, you like where you're at today or you got some issues? Then you walk through over the period of 7 days, like this circle of transformation where involves expression. And part of the expression is getting violently angry at these patterns that are in your life and where they came from. There's bats, there's mallets, there's pillows, there's shredding, there's yelling, there's more words said. I mean, it's brutal. That was Father's Day for me. Then there's the expression of compassion and grieving and mourning, and that's where the funerals. Then there's celebration they walk you through. It's almost like they took you to summer camp, of your 12-year-old summer camp. And they're trying to not just reprogram your brain, but they're giving you new experiences. And so my friends that had gone, I have some friends that have gone years ago, and I was like, oh, wow. They never told me about it, but it was like, that's what did it. Oh, that's what like turned the light on for you. And then my friend Matt and he had gone, and Matt's just Matt doesn't want to ruin anyone's experience. So he doesn't even he probably wouldn't want to tell you all what I just told you because he wants you to experience it. Where I'm like, Matt, just tell me this. Couldn't really do a good job of putting it into words. And I think that came from him not wanting to overshare. But I'm like, frick, Matt, just tell me what do you tell me about this. So I was like, screw it. I'm going. And I need to go. Because I don't need to just hear about it. I need to go. And I think the title of this entry is Who the Sun Sets Free is Free Indeed. Because as they walk you through this experience, you start putting all this puzzle pieces together of like why you are the way you are and where some of the underlining belief that you have about yourself comes from. And you're operating out of that sense of belief. Like whether that's I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough or I'm not this instead of I am this. And I don't know, man, by the end of the 7 days, something just clicks. And they do an amazing job taking you through that. Very little one-on-one time. You have a small group leader, you and 8 people, and then there's 40 people in a room that you spend most of your time in one room, 10 to 12 hours a day with these people. A lot of visualizations. There's a lot of talking, and there's a lot of understanding. And then there's experiences. And it feels like a long trip, like a crazy trip. Not like, I just, am relaxed, but like wild. And that's 7 days. And I walked out of Hoffman believing things that I'd never believed about myself. Forgiveness was huge. My wife, like, she got forgiveness for her family, for her dad who's never been in her life, and for her mom. And she's like, you know what? I'm now going to ask them for forgiveness. And that's the full circle. You go in front of your family and you just basically apologize to them. And they're like, what? And you're like, that's all. And trust me, like, it sounds weird, but change starts to happen if you just put yourself through something like this. And there's a lot of places like this. There's a place friends went called Landmark that's like 4 days. Preston and Alexa, they do like a 2 day event that has some similarities. And so I think there's a lot of people that are pulling stuff from this. But basically, imagine if you had the chance to go back to your childhood and revisit it and change a few things or gain a perspective or connect the dots to, oh, that's why I'm acting like this. And a lot of the stuff that we put on others, it's really just stuff that it's like, man, that has everything to do about me and has nothing to do really about you. This is all about me. And it was, when I left, I was like, how do I describe what took place? Hopefully when people meet me or they know me before all this, they go, oh yeah, I see a shift in Craig. I know my family has, but I was hoping to write about it and share it in the hopes of, like, if you're searching for something and you still haven't found help or hope, and that's not saying that Jesus didn't help or, offer you hope, but it's like, well, what does that mean? And how can I live in that and walk in that? There's, like I said, a super spiritual. So for me, the Lord with me the whole time, and I talk about the Holy Spirit as somebody who dwells inside of me, and the connection to the Spirit that week is profound. You're not supposed to have devices there with you either. So I turned to my phone, but I did keep something to record on. And so I just recorded notes every night, and that's what I sent over to actually my wife each at the end of the week. I snuck in and I did get on their Wi-Fi. They lock everything down, but they opened it up, and I was like, "Oh, Jeanette, here's what's going on." So I broke those rules. I did stay off email. I mean, I didn't work. I was there to do other kind of work. And so I sent all these files to Levi. I was like, hey, man, if you can make sense of this, I want people to know what I did and know what's available. Tom Shoes, if you know Blake, like Blake went, his wife went. They offered almost $1 million in scholarships for people to go. It's $5,000 for a week. They covered 150 people's weeks at Hoffman. I was there with people that famous people have sponsored that have just said, hey, you need to just go here because you're my friend. And, I've offered to pay for people as well that I know because it was that big of an impact, and wanted somehow something in writing that says, yeah, this is what I went through. And I get it. Because I was trying to be in my intellect the whole time and going, okay, what are they doing here? I know what they're doing because Jeanette told me we're going to have a party tonight and that's going to be fun. Why are we doing a party? Oh, because they want us to do this. And then once I could stop getting out of that and just enjoy it and sit in it, you have this like declaration you make when you leave. Then you have a reveal. And nobody knows what you do all week because you're just your name or your childhood nickname, whatever that is. And so you're not allowed to talk about what you do. And so at the end, it's kind of fun to say, here's what we do. My friend, guy I met there, Evan, he says to me, dude, it'd be so fun if we get up there and we just tell him like, hey, we're porn stars. And I was like, he doesn't even know. And I was like, dude, I was going to get up there and just tell him I'm a porn pastor. And he's like, what? And I told him, and he's like, what? And then when I got up there and I spoke, it was just like, no, dude, I'm no longer a porn pastor. Like, I'm free of that. And that's been something for me in 2013 in Alaska at another similar weird retreat. People would say weird, like I heard clear from the Lord to step away from the ministry. And 6 years later, I'm 2 weeks away from announcing that. So you would think like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like that's coming. But I still yet wasn't freed of it. And that week, it was just giving myself the understanding and awareness of like, I don't have to do this anymore. Like this isn't who I am. I'm even wrestling with the thought of like, I hated the pastor title. My whole time people have given it to me. It's not who I am. I don't need to pastor this. Like, no, I'd rather you not even know that. And why am I still even, so I'm debating whether to even, I don't want to say former, but it's like, dude, I don't need that title. And especially when it comes to the porn stuff in Triple X Church, a lot of the things I realized is, that was as a result of a negative pattern. Of me trying to prove not just to my family or the world that, hey, I'm not going to do that like all these other people. Like I'm going to do this and I'm going to scream it loud. I'm going to go after that. And it's just like, hey, I don't have to do that anymore. It's not what I'm supposed to do. And super thrilled at Brittany and Rich coming alongside and them taking over. And they're going to take this somewhere where I can't. And instead of me going, yeah, dude, I know you don't really get it. Like I'm released of that and free of that and going, who the sun sets free is free indeed. That hit me. And my last words at Hoffman, I just said, hey, it took a pastor. It's the one time I did use it. I said, it took a pastor to come to Napa Valley to this place to learn how to forgive himself and what forgiveness really looks like when that's given to you, in my case, from the Lord. Like, I get it now. Like, I get it now so much that on the last day, after I smoked that joint, I was with the headphones on this song called Upper Room. And it's just this beauty from ashes, you are good. And there's sprinklers going on. And I was just playing in the sprinklers. Told Jeanette, like, I wish you could have seen me. She's like, I know. I was there a few months ago doing, not the exact same thing, but doing a lot of what you just did. And, man, can't speak highly enough of what it did for me and to me. And so much that now, like, Jeanette and I are going, hey, they offer some different things for couples. And so we have something that we're doing at the end of, like in the fall, where we're like, man, we're going to now, how do we, for us, this whole path was like, we got work to do on ourselves. We got work to do in our marriage. No, you know what? You got work to do in yourselves. Hey, go do that work with yourselves. Hey, now let's come back to our marriage. And now we're even seeing a bigger vision for not just working. I mean, we always got work to do on ourselves and our marriage, but man, how can we take some of this work to some other couples? And so we started to do that, and it's been fun to do that with Jeanette. So that's it. That's what I got here. I read this. I read this, and I mean, like I've said to Levi, everything he sent me back, I always just say, dude, it's great. This one, my hope and goal was it to clearly explain what I went to, so you just don't think and judge and go, oh, I went to this kind of place that, I don't know, it sounds like hip. I don't know what it sounds like, just free love and hypno. Dude, here's their process, here's what they did, and here's how it impacted me. That's my experience. Might not be everybody's, but I'm glad I went, and glad I did it. And check it out if you're interested.
Thanks for thinking through Craig Brain. This podcast is only a small summarized part of a larger conversation. To read the full story, check out www.craigbrain.com and follow @Craig Gross on whatever social suits your fancy.